Hey, this is the Inspirational Treasure, and today, with my hair neat and retwisting, my glasses off, my eyes, my blemishes, my bumps, no makeup, no earrings, all the things that I kind of do to, I guess, hide the things that I may feel uncomfortable with about myself. Now, makeup was never something that I felt like I needed to do. I do believe that it's beautiful when applied. I love how it enhances things, but it's never something that I needed to do. I did want my glasses, however, um, to help with my vision, but also to help with the feeling that I get in this eye. Um, I've oh gosh, hated my nose my whole life because I was talked about so much concerning it. I love earrings because I do believe that they enhance. I love accessories. My hair is extremely long, but I don't always feel like I need to retwist because I don't want it to thin. And my head hurts when I get certain styles done, so I don't really get protective styles or updo styles a lot because it gives me a headache, right? um I get my nails done so that I don't bite them. I've been biting my nails since I was young. And I do get my nails done because I don't like the fact that when I'm in deep thought, and not out of anxiousness or anxiety, just deep thought, um, it it's just me. I chew gum, I eat candy, I bite my nails, whatever. So I try to keep my nails done so that I don't do that. Why am I sharing all of these things with you that seem so embarrassing to most? Um, because as I discover treasure, and that's a whole story that you're going to have to hold tight to be able to get and follow so that you understand my insecurities, my triumphs, those things that I feel like were failures. We're going to talk about all of that in this season because as an apostle, as a award-winning speaker, award-winning author, best-selling author, all these different accomplishments, right? I've really yet to talk about much of them because maybe, just maybe, I didn't feel like they were accomplishments enough. But why? What I've come to understand as I discover treasure or discover Shalonda through getting to know me, know treasure, um, which is the God-given name that I received years back in 2007. I realized that there are still insecurities that stem from trying to measure up, right? Measure up in school. And for those of you who know about my mental health gifts, which I call gifts and not diseases or illnesses or whatever. But those of you who know that I deal with some things, you know, school was not always as easy for me as people thought, right? I always felt behind. I always felt like I had to rush and get something done because just reading, like reading one paragraph, y'all, would take me like hours because I would start reading it and then I would get distracted with one of the words, and one word would take me to another thought, and then another thought would take me to another thought. Yeah, so it was just a lot. But school made me feel like I needed to be something different. Um, School, as we know it, doesn't measure what you're good at and then feeds that, but it tells you who you need to be and it tries to raise you in that. And when you don't measure up to that, then you are labeled as slow or disabled or not normal, right? Church, religious ideologies and doctrines that have been taught and taken out of context, who try to deal more with controlling the body and the flesh that God gave us, as opposed to dealing with the heart of the issues that we have. because of each other, because of the perspective of each other, because of the judgments of each other. We don't know the gospel to be about love and peace and harmony and unity. We know the gospel to scare most people. But it's a contradiction because the gospel is the good news. And so if it's good news, it shouldn't scare me, right? And the scriptures tell us that perfect love casts out all fear. So the fear of punishment and ridicule and judgment and hatred. Not feeling like I'm gifted enough, though God has said you're gifted enough, or I'm calling you to this position. As a prophet, I settled into that for a minute, but as an apostle, it still took me a minute, and still it's taking me a minute because God is saying, I've taught you, now go teach. I've taught you, now go teach. That's the apostles turned into apostles after Christ, Yahshua, died because he taught, and then it was their time to go and be the apostle, or what some people may consider the guru of their culture, right? So God says, I taught you and I've been teaching you since you were a kid. Now go teach. Go share the revelations of what I've given you. And that was hard for me to settle into because I was born into a family that's more fundamentalist and strict to the doctrine of the law, the letter, when we are liberated to live according to our hearts. And the understanding that Christ brought was just phenomenal if we really take the inventory of it, right? Nevertheless, I felt more low self-esteem in trying not to be something, trying to measure up to things, trying not to be the opposite of what people expected of me. And in all of that, the treasure was buried further and further underneath the dirt. When I got the name Treasure from my good friend of mine, Truesome, and at the time we were an item, he was incarcerated. I found him through pen pal action after I got pregnant for the the fourth time out of wedlock, was condemning myself, shamed, beating up on myself. I contemplated an abortion. All the things that I didn't believe in, I was contemplating because I did not want to be seen as rebellious and an outcast. I didn't want to not please God, right? Because that's the narrative. God had to break me down in so many ways and teach me in so many different areas to release the old and embrace that which is new, the new wine. They that worship God must do so in spirit and in truth, not according to laws, not according to rules. When we understand what love really is and what Christ really meant, then there are certain things that we won't do to our bodies, certain things that we won't say to people, certain things that we won't do, because we understand what love is. We understand that love doesn't control. We understand that love is patient. Love sees your brokenness and it hangs on and it helps you through it. Love stays even when it feels offended, right? Love measures the fact that, yeah, you learning just like me. You're responding and reacting to something that was said or done to you, just like me. And so when I hear stuff like return to sender, or, we pray against that, or we call fire down and things like that, it really grieves my heart, because aren't they due redemption and love and forgiveness just like me, just like you, just like all of us who have done something to offend somebody at some time or another? People do things based on what they know, what they've learned, what they've been taught. A racist is a racist because somebody instilled that particular thought process in them, that they are the higher of two people or three people or three cultures or races, and then they run with that. Those of us who have been raised in strict religious doctrine all of our lives, we are judgmental and hateful people sometimes, and we call that being a follower of Christ. We are indoctrinated based on the rules and the laws that have been learned by our ancestors, parents, grandparents, those that are further away. Some of us have grudges with people and we don't even know why. If you go back and trace to where did this feud start, you don't even know. So I said all that to say, Truesome when he named me Treasure, he sent me a message, and he sent a letter, and he said, a treasure is still a treasure even when it's beneath the dirt. I thought the name Treasure was kind of dope, and I thought, okay, you know, God, that's awesome. When I became a part of a Christian sorority, my name in that sorority was Trey Ashore, and she had no idea that God had already called me Treasure, but nevertheless, he calls me that so that I can come into the understanding of who Shalonda is, who Shalonda was created to be. And so I'm discovering Treasure in order to continue to build the self-esteem of Shalonda, to continue to build the self-esteem of everyone that's listening to me, because where we were supposed to be taught to love ourselves and that God loves us unconditionally, and, you know, not to do certain things, not because, oh, it's going to burn me up in lake fire, hell fire. I shouldn't fear punishment from a God who loves me unconditionally. But as a parent, as a loved one, the desire for me to be the best that I can be makes sense. The desire for me to understand my worth so that I don't give my body to any and every person that comes along. The understanding or the teaching that what I think is what manifests in my life, and I have to deal with my thinking mind of Christ, right? In order to really become into the fullness of who God created me to be, or expressed me to be, because we are literally a part of his greater whole, a part of the greater whole of God, the great mind that I am, right? We are a part of that wholeness, and we have to come into the understanding of it. But we can't do that if we keep being bullied into conforming to the way of the world. Now, the way of the world is in the church. The way of the world is in the school. The way of the world is in some of our homes. The way of the world is the mindset of the world. That the world that is limited reaches every single area of our lives. So when Trutham named me Treasure and talked about me being beneath the dirt, all of this dirt, all of the stuff that made me feel like I was less than, all of the stuff that made me feel like I wasn't worth it, all of the stuff that made me feel like I needed to hide everything about me in order to be accepted, so not the gospel. So I'm giving you this message today. This is Inspirational Treasure speaking to you. This is me telling you to think on these things. When will you accept the unconditional love of God? There is no condition, because it wouldn't make sense for the God that we say makes no mistakes to then say that he made a mistake with me or with you. Could it be that the things that came to wreck our soul, to break us, to make us feel limited in the eyes of God, to make us hate another individual for not being who we are, could it be that that's the reason why people hide? In Romans 2, something so profound was spoken to the Jews. He said, it is because of you that people are down on God. It is because of you, who? You religious people who do one thing and judge another person for doing the same thing, hypocrisies and things like that. Those who talk about love but don't live it because you're too busy judging other people for not measuring up. It is you that makes people to be down on God. I'll say the same thing to the Christian. I'll say the same thing to the Muslim, the same thing to any religious order, any system that stands up as the bully. Today I stand up as the advocate, the one that says, yeah, the least of these is who Christ came to speak to build their self-worth, their self-esteem, to make them understand that, listen, God made you as you are. Sin is another conversation to make you feel like God doesn't love you, doesn't care. God, we got to reevaluate some things. We got to stop losing people. We talk about God going after the one. That's our job. He manifests through us that we may go out and embrace the one. So I'm going to talk a lot about religious ideologies and the stigmas of mental health and the conversations around people who are broken and live with low self-worth. It's time for us to build up. A long time ago, I coined the name the self-worth architect. And I understand it now, even in relation to who I am as an apostle. I'm meant to build others, build your self-esteem. You are not a mistake, and neither am I. So as I discover Treasure, in order to love Shalonda more, understanding who Shalonda is, not backing down from who she is, here I am. Blemishes and all. Roots showing and all. No lipstick, no lip gloss, no earrings. Just me. Treasure. I love you just because I can. We're going to talk again soon. But go ahead and take this and think on these things.